when you get out of jail, when you get to Toronto, and then she got out a couple days later. So here is my turn to get out, and they, it was in the middle of January, and they're like, here's your street clothes, you're released, and it's just a little spaghetti tank top, and a mini skirt and little high heels. It's like, I'm gonna freeze to death, don't even have a winter jackets. So I started hanging on to the bars. I was like, well, I'm not leaving the jail. I was like, make me. And that's what I did to them up in the zoo. They're telling me to get in my cell, and I wouldn't get in there. I was like, you get in there. I'm not getting in there. So this time I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm gonna freeze to death. And that happened to a girl out in Saskatchewan. They released her, and she never had no clothes, and she froze to death. They found her frozen to death. So I blame it on the jails why this happened to me. And I always want to go after the correctional facility. Their guards need training, big time. Next slide. And then here I got released, and this is where they released you at the bus station in Barrie, right in front of everybody out in public. It was so humiliating. And I did it, you know, they gave me some ugly clothes from Salvation Army, but I was out there, and I never had nowhere to go for a night. And then I ran into some of the other girls that got released, and they were just running around the streets too, doing drugs and going to flop houses, and yeah, it was pretty brutal. And so the next day I left them and came back to the bus station, and then I seen this guy getting out of jail, and he's like, hey, you want to come to Toronto? I was like, sure, why not? What other choice do I have, you know? And then they never gave me a bus ticket to go back home. They said they called my grandma, but they lied. She told me they never called. So here's me going down that biggest highway in the world, the 401, call it the 401 Dark Highway. And he's pulling his pants down and talking really bad to me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And he's pulling out money, wads of cash. He's like, come on, you fucking bitch, talking to me like that. And pulling out his private card, his penis. And I was like sitting really far away from him on the other side. He wanted to throw me out of the cab on the 400. And that was pretty scary for me. So I eventually we eventually got to Toronto, and we're in the West End, around Dufferin and Eglinton. And I walked for like a good half an hour towards Dufferin and Eglinton. And I called that girl, she wasn't around. So I called that guy Blue, and he was just up the street. Like, it was weird. He thought I was an undercover cop. So when he actually did pick me up, there's this thing they do in the street to prove you're not a cop by grabbing your boob or your crotch, and you do it to them and they do it to you. Because I guess detectives won't do that. So that's how they determine you're not a police officer. So next slide. And they picked me up, and he brought me to this hotel after figuring out I wasn't a cop and all that, and he left me there for a bit. He went to the mall shopping, brought me back clothes. He knew exactly what size to get me, what shoe size, just by just looking at me, and then brought me to the nail salon. You know, I got red nails. He's like, what the fuck is that? I'm a crip, you can't have red around me, so I couldn't even pick what color of nails I wanted. And then he brought weed and alcohol, had me dancing around that night, and then that's when he made his move. He attacked me and sexually assaulted me viciously on the first night I met him. And I needed stitches, you know, and he wouldn't, I'm like, bring me to the hospital, I need stitches. He wouldn't bring me, and he's being so nice to me, probably because he was scared, because they'll do the rape kit. Next slide. And that's something else, when our girls are getting raped, they could still do the rape kit, and then see if they want to go to the police another time later, 10 years or so statutory, you know, so that's something else to think of. And then knowing your rights while going through that is so important. Sometimes in the hospital, they'll call the cops right there, and he didn't even ask for them. It's like, holy fuck, I have warrants out for my arrest, I'm out of here, you know? So this is where I was attacked, and it lasted like a good hour, and it was so traumatizing. Next slide. So after he started grooming me right away, and obviously the nice hotels he couldn't pay that $200 or $300 every night, and then he started being mean, and he's like, he'd bring lingerie and have me model it for him, and then he'd have his boys sitting there. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it in front of your friend. And I couldn't tell why they were telling me to do these things. So I did it, you know. And then he brought me to these cheap-ass motels down in Mississauga. Mississauga Gates Inn. There's always cops there. If you've never seen trafficking before, you could just sit in the parking lot and watch it for your own eyes happening. It's that bad right there. Then there's the strip club right beside it. So they put the girls in the motel, and they just walk right next door to the strip club. And then when that's closed, they come back to the motel, and they could do escort ads right from the hotel. So they were working all hours around the clock, non-stop. My pimp, he got me pregnant right from the rape the first night I met him. So I never had my period for about 5 months, and I could work way longer. No breaks, no nothing. And then that was the first club I worked at, Devil's Playground. And it was scary there. There's lots of Hells Angels there. You see the mafia in there. On Fridays, there's like 50 pimps in there, and they're all trying to talk to you and grab your arm. And you're not allowed looking at these pimps or talking to them or talking to your competition in there, the other girls, because they'll drug you down there. They drugged me in there with saying it was coke and it was Special K, horse tranquilizers and stuff like that. So that strip club was pretty scary, and lots of shootings there. Some of the pimps got shot outside the club, and they just dumped them there. There was a whole car full of them. Stuff like that. The strip club is nasty. Condoms laying around everywhere. Just stinks. And then there's like rust, so I imagine there's lots of asbestos in some of these clubs. And it's still there, but it's a gay strip club now. Called Taboo. Next slide. So that's how it is now, and I spent many nights outside the strip club like that because he wouldn't pick me up because I never made the $1,000. I never met his quota. So if I never had that $1,000, I wasn't coming home. And other pimps will drag around me all night and, hey, you need something, you need help, and they want me to come with them, right? And I don't know what these pimps are going to do or what their ulterior motive is. Some of them are really mean. They break your bones. They don't care. You know, they'll knock all your teeth out. I've seen what happens to the girls there. So I obeyed my pimp out of fear. Next slide. And then I was moved around all across the GTA. This is locomotion. Lots of competition in there. And I just had to get good at making money, or I was in love with them. I fell in love with my captor, my predator, and that's Stockholm syndrome. You know, the longer we're with the pimps and stuff like that, our bonds with our community, our mom and our families is getting broken. And they always say, oh, why don't you just leave? But I can't. I love this guy, even though this is happening. It's my boyfriend, you know. And I have that. They just sold you a dream that you'll never ever see, you know. And they tell you, oh, we'll get a house, we'll get a car, we'll have kids together. As soon as you believe that, you were sold a dream that you'll never see. And then they'll say stuff to you like, oh, you don't even have nowhere to fucking live. You don't even have a house. You don't even have money in your bank. What the fuck's wrong with you? So that's what he told me when I was pregnant. So he tricked me like that. So I'd go have the abortion. And then I had about 10 abortions within 2 years with him. And that was so hard on my body that I can't even have kids normal anymore. I have to have C-section. And then I wish I could have a child regular. When I see other women having their children and have natural labor or something, oh, I wish I could have that, you know, but we can't. Next slide. You could just keep scrolling through them. These are lots of the strip clubs I worked at, and you can see the stupid dumpster in front of this one. It was garbage, and inside the clubs, I had some of the pimps' bottom bitches. They would stalk me in the clubs, and then he had his cousin that was working there too. So that's how he knew what kind of beer I was drinking, who I was talking to, what exactly I was doing. He knew my every move. And then he called me out on that, and I was like, oh, he knows what I'm doing because someone's spying on me in there, and I was trying to figure out who it was, and I couldn't. So a little bit time goes by, and he keeps moving me around these strip clubs, and I seen his cousin. He brought me to this apartment that they're turning tricks out of down on Eva Road, and she was there. I was like, oh, you're Princess, eh? From Devil's Playground. I remember you. I have a memory like a camel. I don't forget nothing. And then have that photographic memory and just not only using your five senses, using your intuition, your gut feeling, those vibes. Those are all important. They're very true. Just going by those sometimes has actually saved my life and talking yourself out of your own murder. Next slide. So yeah, I was moved around all these strip clubs. House of Lancaster, they own 3 strip clubs.